Welcome back to the Turbo Velo Tuesday Night Crit, Race 3, Series 3. The largest weeknight crit in the entire country. Imagine that. It's true. More starters, more racers than any other crit in the country. We're so grateful to have racing opportunity here in the Dallas area. So, there goes Paul in the pink Meteor kit. Up ahead, he's the guy that we're really wanting to mark for this session. Former Masters National Champion on the road, or crit, I'm not sure. I don't know the exact details of his history, but all I need to hear is Masters National Champion, and you've got the stars and stripes on your sleeves. That's all I need to know. So, the other strategy going into this race is it's race 3 of Series 3. There are 4 races in each series, and we're trying to win the overall title on our team, Cheney Windows and Doors, which is the club team of the UCI professional track team, also, of course, Cheney Windows and Doors. And our leader in the series is Andrew with 17 points. You get 10 points for a win, 7 points for second, 5 points for third place, and so forth, down to 1 point for 10th place. And we are sitting pretty right now with 17 points of first and second place in the first 2 races. The next person being the John Bain with 10 points, who won the race last week, but he's not here this week. So we're also in third place with Jorge. I don't know exactly how many points he has, maybe about 8 points, and he's in third place in the series. So Andrew, my teammate, he's in the Whalen Leaders jersey, just ahead of me, about 4 bikes ahead of me. 5 bikes ahead of me, and he's the guy that we're working for in this race to try to ensure that he gets a top finish, hopefully first place, but if not, definitely on the podium. And we have a chance of wrapping up the series on the 3rd of 4 races tonight. And so, of course, the thing that I'm going to be doing is really keying in on Paul. I've totally forgotten his last name. As these are the kinds of things you should look up right before you start the commentary of the video, but if you really want to know his name, I guess it's not really important. Maybe he values his privacy. I don't know. But, I mean, he should take it as a compliment that we're keying on him. And he was identified definitely as the strongest guy in the field that we have to watch out for. I believe that he's not from Texas, but he was in the area. He's from close to Texas, but not from Texas. He was in the area and came out to race. So we appreciate him coming out to spice things up and to add a little extra dimension. It's kind of like, if you play pickup basketball and you're playing with the same guys all the time, it's nice to have some new guys in the mix too. And there are also other guys besides him that are a little bit in the mix. Pegasus, I think a couple of their riders, I'm not sure that they had recently or done this series before, so it was good to have them here as well on their team. Just in front of me is Andrew. So you can see on the very front, Paul is just pulling and pulling and pulling. And I think his idea here is to keep it, make it hard, and probably also to just get a workout for himself. Keep it hard and see who's maybe gassed a little bit, so that in a breakaway attempt in the future here, he might be able to get away, rather than a slower, more strategic race, or maybe he's trying to discourage attacks. I'm not really sure what his exact strategy is. He doesn't have any teammates, so he's obviously not working for a teammate by pulling on the front. So, the thing I would say is, if you're on the front pulling, have a reason to do it. So I'm sure he does have a reason. It's just that, also the other thing is, if you have, if you're at the poker table with more chips than anybody else, you have a few more options than people who are short-stacked on their chips. So he has a big pile of chips. He can use his chips as he pleases. The wind was relatively light. The forecast was for about 6 miles per hour from, I think, the southeast, and I think that was true and correct. So if you're not familiar with this course, the wind right now is going from my right to the left across the screen. Essentially, we're now headed north in this direction. So southeast, which would be across tail. Here's Jason just ahead of me, a very dedicated racer who's just been racing for years and supports the scene all the time by essentially doing any race and all races he can. Good guy. So we see Jimmy up here on cadence going off the front. Attack on his part. So, some races are strategic more than they are about power and speed. So occasionally, for example, you can have a breakaway getaway that isn't composed of the strongest persons, but for tactical reasons, they are allowed to go away. And sometimes they can win. That actually almost happened to me in the A race. I guess this was a long time ago now, 3 or 4 years ago, where I was in a B-level breakaway in the A race, and we almost stayed away. We got caught with about half a lap to go, and that was also the race. Even though we were caught and I was in the breakaway for a long period of the race, I caught on to the main group in the sprint finish and actually got 4th. Very close to the podium, but not quite. And who knows if I'll ever have that chance again. But anyway, Jimmy is on Cadence. Cadence is our main rival in this series so far, but as you can see, the damp patches on the road, it had rained not long before the races started. When I first arrived, while the B race was starting up, after the C race, I would say it was like mottled wet concrete, about 50% wet, 50% dry. And this course with its grooved concrete is known for being very sticky, lots of traction even when wet. It's pretty hard to go down on this course even when wet with wet roads here. So it is a smaller field than normal tonight because of the rain. They're just people that choose not to show up if there's, any rain. But you can see how quickly the course dries out. This was a dry race for us. There were no traction issues. I did reduce the PSI of my tire by about 10, but I don't think it was even necessary to do that. Here's my teammate on the left, Ryan Chrissy. He's also the promoter for the Turbo Velo Tuesday Night Crit, which, as I mentioned before, is the largest crit now in the weeknight crit in the entire country. Which is something I think to be proud of. So we see a little movement on the front. And again, there's going to be, anytime the group's together, there are going to be people that decide to take a flyer and mix it up. And that's a great part about racing, is that you have to decide if and when you're going to do that, what moves to follow, where to use your energy, when to close gaps, when not to close gaps, when to try to bridge versus working with the group to move up. How are you doing this in relationship to what you're trying to achieve with your teammates? Do you even have any teammates? And we see here Andrew on the front. So our ideal scenario here would be that Andrew gets in a very small breakaway. Andrew is very strong, and he is excellent. He is basically a breakaway specialist. Although he's already proven he can fare very well in sprints. My teammate there, Ryan, goes off the front. And again, this is not in service of himself per se, but to make other people do work. And guess who decides to pull that back? That's Paul doing the work to pull, and Andrew immediately gets on his wheel, and we reset. Grupo Compacto, everyone back together. This is also my teammate right in front of me, Jorge. We do have a couple of different colored jerseys, last year's and this year's jersey. So this white striped jersey is the same that I am wearing, and Ryan is in the newer jersey, the yellow and blue jersey. So again, keying on Paul, that's going to be my job. I'm now probably a little bit too far back, but I guess it's a small field, so I don't need to, stress out about not being essentially in perfect position all the time. And, if you're attacking the group to try to get off the front, you don't want to necessarily do that from the very front. You want the element of surprise, and you want to build up some speed so someone can't just jump onto your wheel. Didn't take that corner particularly well and lost some places and have to close the gap using extra unnecessary energy. Here's my teammate Ryan, who had just been off the front briefly half a lap ago, and tucking into near the back here. So let's see what happens here. So Ryan did a move, and I think this is going to be a key part of the race. Again, my memory may be incorrect, but I think a key part may be coming up right here. So there was a place in this race where I think the national champion should have made his move, and he didn't. So I guess it's not on this lap. Might be on the next lap, but we'll talk about when that time comes. So this might be an issue with him not really realizing what the dynamics of the field are. I would argue, based on recent results and the fact that Cadence didn't show up in large numbers for this race, that we, Cheney, Windows and Doors, the leaders, with two guys, our guy first place in the series and our other guy third place in the series, that we are the dominant, strong team that is looking to control this race. So it is hard to get away if you don't do what the dominant, strong team wants you to do. If you do what they want you to do, we will give you all the slack in the world because it is to our advantage. So it would be to the advantage of Paul to get into a breakaway with Andrew, and Andrew is very good at getting into breakaways. So here is Paul on the front again. Just he's got obviously a big motor. He can pull. Here's Andrew, and he goes off here. And so we're going to see a gap open up in just a second. My chain came off. I dropped my chain, get my chain back on, and I'm like, oh crap, last thing I want are these two getting away. So this is a different Andrew. This is Andrew on Torchy's Bike Mart, and he's a bike coach and super smart, experienced, and fit racer that is definitely a danger to win this race as well as to get into a successful breakaway. He always seeks to get into a breakaway. You can bank on that. So I got back on the wheel after dropping my chain, and I'm gonna sit on Paul's wheel right now. You can see the national champion stripes on his legs, on his bibs there, and as well as his jersey. So I didn't really notice it at the time. My teammates told me afterwards. All I knew going into the race was he's super strong, and there's going to be a successful breakaway, and he's going to be in that successful breakaway. That's what the intelligence conveyed to me was. And of course, not 100% guaranteed that he'd be in a breakaway, but the prediction was that a breakaway would be successful because of his presence in the race, even though the wind was not particularly strong today. So 6 miles per hour. Okay, so Paul's in the front. What do? We send our teammate Ryan to attack again, get off the front, and make Paul do work to get on. I'm not going to close that gap. That's my teammate up ahead. His responsibility, or someone else's responsibility, is to close the gap. Again, Paul has more poker chips than anyone else in the field. He can do what he wants in terms of expending his energy because he has more energy to spare that he can use later in the race. And that wasn't a big effort on his part to have to close that down, and he easily does so. So Andrew is on the far right here, meaning he is guttering the group, i.e. giving as little draft as possible. Or actually, I take that back. Here on the right side, there is more. He's not guttering the gap. It's quite the opposite. I might have the wind wrong. It was such a light wind day that, he wasn't guttering the group. He was doing the opposite. So my apologies there. He was inviting the group to go by being on the front and not guttering the group. So again, we see my teammate and a couple of other guys go off the front. These attacks after attacks make people have to decide what to do in terms of expending their energy. So here we see Pegasus team in that sort of, I don't know what you would call it, gray-blue type color on the front, who's taken up some responsibility to do work to make sure that that breakaway does not get too much of a lead. Here I am on Jorge's wheel. Jorge is led a racing team here in the Dallas area for a long time with very many successful riders at a high level. He knows what he's doing in terms of bike racing. So it's really fun to be on a team where people know what they're doing and they're smart about their racing, and they're also unselfish, all committed to a team goal. That is so much more fun than a team that doesn't have goals, that doesn't have a purpose, where everyone is kind of doing their own thing, and you're lucky if somebody does anything in any coordinated fashion. Now, I'm not saying every team needs to be hyper-coordinated, and I'm not saying we're hyper-coordinated, but it's fun to be on a team that races smart and unselfishly for a team goal. Of course, you don't have to, in this case, I have no aspirations for my own finish. In other words, if it so worked out that it was in the team's interest and I had the legs and I were to, win, of course that wouldn't, that might deny points and still help my teammate win the series championship. But anyway, you saw that I let that rider go who attacked, those two riders. That's Jason and another rider trying to move up to the two riders ahead. And at this point, the person I think that the group is most concerned about is our teammate, Ryan, because they know as long as he's up there, we are not going to chase in terms of our team. We're going to let that go away, and perhaps we are confident that amongst that group, Ryan would win if the breakaway stays away. And that eats up a lot of points. None of those people are in contention for the series championship, so we're happy to let that go away. That will consolidate our stuff, most likely, for the series championship, as well as possibly give us the win. So we're happy to let that go. We're not going to pull that back. It's the responsibility of others to try and pull this back. So let's see, we're about 17 minutes into the race. So this is a relatively short race at about 30-35 minutes. This Masters Cat 1 through 4 race is sandwiched between the B race and the A race. So a little hard to do 2 or 3 races in a row on the Cat 3. So, and I'm over 40, so technically I could do the B race, the Masters, and then the A race, all 3 in a row. And here at the Turbo Velo Crit, you can do that all for one price for the entire day at $20. So there's Jimmy from Pack. He's going to take a flyer too. He says, this looks interesting. Maybe this will get away. Maybe the team tactics here will dictate that this group is allowed to get away and there won't be enough firepower or will amongst the group to pull that group back, even though we could argue that is not like the alphas, the likely winners of the race. They're not in that breakaway ahead, generally speaking, So sometimes you play your cards right and you're not the strongest guy, but you get onto the podium or you win the race because tactically it made sense for some people in the main group to let the breakaway get away. It served the purposes of the strategy. So yeah, there's some distance opening up, and we see that Paul in the pink Meteor kit, he's tucked in, drafting, and most of us here, of course, that are not on the front pulling, are watching and waiting to see what happens in terms of moves. So who wants to pull this group back versus who wants to try to bridge and attack the group to get up there and join the group on a bridge attempt, on a successful bridge? Those are the questions facing some of these riders. Jimmy tried to bridge up, but pulled the plug on that, and he's going to tuck back into the group. So I know that feeling. It's not a good feeling because you just burned a match and you didn't really get anything out of it. Jimmy, I don't think, has a teammate in this race, so it's not like his attack served the purposes of other teammates. But if you don't venture for glory, it's hard to get glory. So I think it's perfectly appropriate and good strategy in his case to attack that breakaway. Our team leader, Andrew, is now second wheel in this chase group in the main group, with our teammate Ryan up ahead in the breakaway of about 5 riders. So let's watch and see. We're going to do a little foreshadowing here This breakaway doesn't get away, but that's really important, what happens as this breakaway is caught. So we are now over 20 minutes into this race, and there's not much time left in the race. Are they holding up signs for laps? I didn't see right there, but if they're not holding up laps, they soon will be holding up laps. These dips are no problem at all. They're easy to ride, and well, some people don't particularly like the dip in turn 3 because it's in the middle of a turn, but I don't really think of it as much of a problem. Alright, so I think, we have our own strategy as a team to think about. I have my own strategy for myself to think about. If you watched last week's race, my role on the last lap in the sprint finish was to try to shepherd my teammates from turn 2, which we just went through, turn 1, which we just went through, up to turn 2, which is just ahead. And last week and this week, it is a cross headwind to get to turn 2. So it's actually kind of hard to go into that headwind as potentially my role. So we're missing one of our teammates, Adam, for this race. He's out of town for this particular race, and my thought was, if we were in the same situation, I might wait to do some shepherding and speeding up the group, getting on the front, so forth, leading out, making sure that the group is going fast enough that nobody can swarm us or pass us. But my thought was, I'm going to wait till later to do that. I'm not going to do that quite so early. I think I went too early last time and I didn't last quite long enough. But it worked out anyway last week. Trying to see where the group is ahead here. Are we getting pretty close, or are we still quite far away? It looks like we're still pretty far away. So excellent work on the front by this Pegasus rider to work to try and catch the guys ahead. If I'm those guys ahead, and I'm not my teammate, but the other guys, boy, they should be working their butts off to try and make sure this break is successful. I'm sure they were, but this is your chance for glory. You have to be all in on that breakaway for it to be successful, and you all have to be working together. It's too early to be playing games. It's too so we see up ahead that the group is still pretty far ahead. They're getting close to turn 1, and I'm in a good position here of being able to save my energy. So there's the lap marker, 4 laps left. Each lap is about 1 mile, so we have about 4 miles left. And here we see Paul following, getting a free ride, but Andrew is attentive. You may have heard me say up, 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 up. That's a warning to my teammate that he should be aware that there's an attack going. The guy in the orange kit, actually did a little bit of riding with him in the next race, the A race. We had both been dropped and we were riding together, and after we were dropped, I wasn't particularly interested in going hard, but he was going so hard at times. I was like, man, how did you get dropped in the A? This is a cool moment, because that's my teammate Jorge, and he came through like a freight train right there. I could hear his wheels buzzing. So he recognizes the danger right now, that we're getting close to catching that breakaway, and you need to be close to the front because there could be an instant attack, and we need him to get points. So he can't be caught out with a huge gap. He uses some energy to move up in position, and I was just still following wheels and not using energy to move up, which may or may not be good or bad, just depending on the situation. Again, we see the breakaway awfully close, and Paul is on the front pulling and doing the work to close this down. So what's going to happen when we catch the group? Now, part of me is thinking, I've been sitting in for a long time. My goal is to work for my teammates, not for my own position or finish. Should I go on attack, take a flyer, attack, and see who will expend energy to chase me down once they're caught? However, I can tell you it's not really my instinct to do so, because by nature I am more of a sprinter, and there's always the thing in the back of my head is I should wait, I should sit in, I should conserve energy. These are always things that are going through my head, so wasn't really sure what I should do. So we see there's a little bit of chaos right now, right? Because guys are fanning out, a little bit of sprinting, standing up, trying to get position. Because as we catch this breakaway, this is a really key moment. You're going to get your counterattacks. Boom! There goes a very, very key moment, which is our team leader Andrew attacking and Paul instantly getting on his wheel. This is the breakaway that we want. Arguably the two strongest guys in the race. They should be away. This should be it. Who is chasing? Who's going to bring this back? Now you can see up there, and Andrew is working, my teammate, and Paul is sitting on. And we have Andrew on RBM, the other Andrew, who is working hard to pull this back. And me and this McKinney Velo guy are just sitting on the wheel, getting a free ride up to him. So look at that. Look at that. Paul did not pull through. He did not give him any help. He just marked him and held him and said, yeah, I'm not going to do any work. You're not going to get away. If you're going to get away, you're going to do it all by yourself, and I'm not going to work with you. Curious decision. There may be some payback for that coming very soon. There may be some barnacle that latches onto his wheel and doesn't work and says, if you're going to get away, you're going to do it all by yourself. There's a lot of literary devices on my channel, and one of those is foreshadowing. So again, more foreshadowing. That's bonus foreshadowing. Here on the left side, we are guttered, so you want to get over to the left if you can to get sheltered. And guess what? So, I was asking, should I attack? Guess who attacks again? Ryan. So, however, I did not think it was good for Ryan to get away with these four guys. In other words, I didn't want, I didn't think it was good to get Paul in a breakaway with these guys, and I thought that we should hold on to this, and I should give shelter to my teammate, and we should reshuffle. Now again, was that the right decision? I think it was. But even if I hadn't made the decision, I think the group would have made the decision for me by pulling that back. It wasn't like I did some heroic effort to pull that back. But I could have sat up, and it would have been a little bit harder to hold back. So again, another attack, and I think that was Ryan again doing work. Again, he's not necessarily thinking I'm going to get a successful breakaway here. He's trying to make other people do work, and yeah, if it works, great. But we're trying to wear out the people that have the most energy, that are the strongest, that are willing to do the work to pull back that attack. So here's another, not really an attack per se, but putting in energy, getting off the front, and I am not going with him, but rather I am sitting on his wheel. And what do? Okay. My thought right now was, I'm going to put in a little dig here into the headwind, and I'm going to make somebody chase behind me. I'm going to make someone do work. They don't know if I'm for real or not, but it's getting to the end of the race. There are less than 2 laps left at this point. A move like this could theoretically be dangerous, and maybe we get one of our rivals to get on the front, tow my teammates, and get up here. So you can see a shadow behind me here. And who is it? It's Paul. So, I neglected to mention one thing here, which is there is someone up the road, which is Andrew. Andrew from RBM, not my teammate Andrew. And he is fairly far up the road. And so, I was doing my little fake attack. And with my fake attack, I thought I would just slot back in. I'm going to let myself get caught, slot myself back in, and then conserve my energy for the next, 1.5 laps until the very end, and see what I can do to help out in the sprint. But with him going by, I made the instant decision with Paul to just get on his wheel. And he's going pretty hard here. I'm not really the most fit person right now. So this was a difficult effort for me to even just stay on his wheel. And at times, he's a better rider than me for sure. Okay, there's the attack by Andrew, which was, I guess, I can't really tell what's going on behind me. I guess Andrew is probably sitting on my wheel. and or maybe not. Maybe he just went right by my wheel. I'm not sure. But he goes by, and this is Paul, saying, "Hey, man." He didn't say it to me right there, but he's like, "Are you going to pull through? Are you going to work? Are you going to help catch this guy?" And he could very quickly tell that I'm not going to do any work, and I'm not going to work to catch him, because it's not really serving the interest of my team. I want Andrew on my team to get first place, second place, third place, and I'm going to sit on. And if this guy is strong enough, the national champion, former national champion, to stay away, pull me to Andrew up ahead. And at this point, he's saying, "Come on, man, do some work." And, I kind of feel a little peer pressure, but I really didn't have it, honestly, to be able to go faster than him or go as fast as him outside the draft. No, I mean, I could have gone a little harder, but I would have blown up, he would have attacked, and I would have been off the wheel. It didn't serve my interest or my team's interest to do work for this. And my goal here is to mark this and see if he can take me to the front. Now, I have no idea what's going on behind me. I have no idea how far back he is, the other guys in the group. And I am sitting here trying to get to the left, get a little bit of shelter, and potentially put in a sprint. Who knows if we can catch Andrew here. No, 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 no. When I say no, I don't mean that's bad, but that is my teammate, Jorge, who, boom, put in a huge effort, and he's pulling my other teammate, Andrew, to the front. So when Paul, sat up, I sat up as well. I questioned myself whether I have enough energy to have hopped onto the wheel and kept going. Maybe. I don't think I could have done a whole lot, but you never know if you did. But anyway, I felt like my role was done, and I had already done my part for the team, and it was now up to the others to get the win. So, this is part of racing. You're not racing for your own finish. You may get last place or close to it, but you did your part for the team. And so I played my part as the barnacle for the strongman, and we'd see what happened with my teammate up ahead, with Jorge giving the lead out to Andrew into turn 3, and then Andrew had to figure out what to do through turns 3, 4, and the finish. Spoiler, well, just tell you how it ended up. So there's my teammate Jorge up there, off the back of the sprint group because he was doing the lead out, and Andrew ended up getting third place. One of the Pegasus riders got second place, and I apologize, the name of the guy who got first place. I think he's an individual solo rider. So third place, however, clinched the series championship for Andrew. So that was our team win, and we did our best as a team effort to work together to get Andrew as high place as possible. So I think it was successful, and I had the fun time of sitting on the wheel of a fantastically strong rider. I'm not sure he enjoyed that, but that's part of racing too, is sometimes people are getting a little bit miffed at you for sitting on and not working. So anyway, good race. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.